Alright, so now what we're going to want to do is just build out our handle. So just go up here, click on cylinder, click and drag it out. Okay, we're going to go into our channel layer editor, and we're going to go to the poly cylinder, and we're just going to go ahead and make our subdivision caps to 0. And we're just going to hit F to focus on our cylinder, right click, say face mode, select, hold shift and select the second one, and delete them both. Great. Now we're just going to go right click, object mode, select it, and we're going to go back to our attribute editor, first tab, and we're going to go 0, 0, and 0. And that'll put us right in the center of our scene. And we can now move it down until it kind of lines up with what we have in our picture plane. So here we're just going to, I just moved over to the front view just to kind of get it centered squarely. So I'm just going to kind of move it until it's like in the middle of that red thing. I'm going to hit space, and jump over to my perspective view, and just make sure that everything's kind of lining up nice. And I think it's a little too thick, so I'm just going to grab the yellow one and squeeze it in until it gets to about the thickness of the handle itself. We're going to scale up, and it looks like there's like a little kick out right there, so we're just going to go to here. Yeah, that's good. And we're going to go right click, edge mode, kind of zoom in, and grab that whole top ring by double clicking. I'm going to go F for focus, and now we can kind of get in here and really see what we're doing. So let's hit the extrude tool and grab scale, and let's just scale it out a little bit. And let's hit the extrude tool again, grab the move tool, and just bring it on up. Space, and go into front view. We're just going to zoom on into it. We can probably hit focus on here too, or F. And I'm just going to drag it up until the whole thing is inside the body, right here. So this is about how much you want to suck it in on, okay? Then we're going to go right click, and go vertex mode. And we're just going to start grabbing these vertexes and making them fit that line right about there. And that one's probably okay. And this doesn't have to be perfectly accurate, which is why I'm just doing it loosely. It just needs to hide that edge. That should be good. Let's hit this. Let's just zoom on out a little bit and take a look. All right. So what we have now is a really nice looking sword handle, or at least the beginnings of one. All right. I see that there's a little bit of a smoothing conflict going on, so let's just go ahead and introduce you guys to smoothing. So what happened here is we've got a lot of hardened edges that's causing that. So we're just going to go face mode, select, double click, and we're just going to go normals, soften edge, edge mode, and I'm just going to grab this loop and I'm just going to nudge it down a little bit. And that's going to allow it to mimic that on the normal map itself. If it's straight up and down, it literally wouldn't even see it. So this would fix that issue. So just nudge it down a little bit. I'll explain more later when we get to the normal mapping procedure. But for now, let's just understand that this has to be moved a little bit off of just square. Okay, so that should do it. And let's take a look at it in perspective mode and get a good glimpse of this thing. And right click, object mode, and now we can really see what we got. And that's really starting to look good, don't you think? All right, let's keep moving on. So the bottom part's going to be super simple. We're actually going to do it out of 2 pieces. Yep, and that'll be super simple. So we're just going to grab the sphere and draw out a sphere, and we're just going to move it with the attribute editor, first tab, 0, 0, and 0. That'll put it right in the middle of our scene. Let's move it on down and scale it up as necessary. Okay, so I think this is technically called a pummel. So that's what we're going to be building out now. And that'll do beautifully. So let's go into our channel box layer editor, polysphere. Let's change our subdivision axis, subdivision height to something a little more reasonable, like 10. And that's all we're going to need to do. So we can go right click, face, select, double click, select, double click, and we're just going to go extrude and scale it out. And scale it down till we have it nice and square. Okay? And as you can see, we've got that same smoothing problem happening. So let's just fix that up. Right click, face, double click all of them this time, and we're just going to go normals, soften edge. Right click, edge mode. Let's grab this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, which are the edges that we want to harden. And we're going to go normals, harden edges. And now we should have a really nice looking shape that's doing exactly what we want. Great. So there we have it. And as you can see, we are pretty much almost done here. I just noticed that we're still having some smoothing issues on this guy. So I'm just going to right click, say face mode. I'm just going to select all the faces of this guy. I'm going to go right click, normals, soften edges. And we're going to do the same thing that we did to this one. We're going to go edges, double click this guy, double click this guy, and go normals, harden edge. And now object mode, and we are looking really, really good now. So what we want to do now is combine all these three pieces, this, and this, so that they're all one element, and so that we can just kind of keep moving forward. So to do that, we're just going to grab all three, just like I did. So select, shift, select, and we're now going to go mesh, combine. And now, if you notice, it automatically turns off smoothing if you had it on. If you want to put it back on, you just hit 3 again. And now we are set to mirror. So we're going to go edit, duplicate special, and we're just going to go 1, 1, and -1. And we're going to leave it as an instance this time. Yeah, leave it as an instance. Hit apply and close. And now we have everything mirrored on both sides as we wanted it. Alright, so now that we have everything kind of looking the way we want it to, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to build this little piece on the inside of here. So we're going to get started there, and I'm just going to turn off some of the pieces I don't need. So I'm going to turn off the sword's hilt sphere, I'm going to turn off the handle, I'm going to turn off the... I'm going to leave the hilt for now, I'm going to turn off the blade, okay? And I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to grab myself a cylinder, and I'm going to go ahead and drag it out and drag it up. And I'm just going to give it some controls under the poly cylinder, and I'm just going to basically tell it to have 16 sides, and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, and I'm now going to center it on the world. So I'm just going to go to attribute editor, and I'm going to go 0, 0, and 0. Okay, so now I'm just going to bring it down into position. It's obviously way too big, so I'm scaling it down until it's about the size that I need it to be. Okay, which is going to be something sort of like that. Okay, and I'm just going to go to my front view, and I'm going to turn on my wireframes so I can see my edges, and I'm just going to line everything up nice. And that should just about do it, and we should be good. So let's go back to our perspective view. We're going to go back into our channel editor, and we're going to set our subdivision caps to 0, which will get rid of that. So now we can just go face mode and delete those two caps very easily. Delete. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to move this edge to the 0 point. Z equals 0, return, and we should be all set. Now I'm just going to grab this outside edge and bring it in until it sort of makes sense. Right about there. Right click, face mode, double click everything, normals, reverse, so that everything is facing inward. Okay, so now we've got all the necessary pieces we need to start building out this next part. So we're just going to go ahead and go right click. We're going to go edge mode, double click that edge, extrude, scale, and just scale it out a little bit. And let's take a look at what we're looking at from our front view. And I'm just going to turn off the sword hilt for now so that we can see this piece that we're building out. And I'm just going to scale it a little more. And that should do it beautifully. And I'm just going to look at it from the perspective view. I'm going to go extrude, and I'm going to go move, and I'm going to move it back. Okay, so on the z-axis we're going to go 0 again, and we should be looking pretty good here. Now we need to bring out this piece and this piece. So we're going to mirror this as we normally do. So we're not going to worry about the left side for now. We're just going to worry about the top, bottom, and right side. So let's just grab our face mode and grab these four faces, and we're going to go extrude, and we're going to go move, and we're just going to bring it up. If you want to turn on your hilt to make sure that you're squeezing it inside the hilt, that's fine. And you can do the same thing on the bottom. So let's just turn off the hilt again, make sure we get the right polygons. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's turn the hilt back on, and we're going to go extrude and move, and we're just going to bring it down until it's hidden. Great. If you have to do a little, point pushing, you might have to do that in here to make sure it's all hidden. So just check and make sure everything's nice and clean in there. And we're now going to do this side part. So let's turn off our hilt again. Let's just grab the ones we need, which seems to just be 2 on this one. And we're going to go extrude and move and pull it out. And we should be looking pretty great. All right, so the next step is to get this set up for mirroring, because we don't want to have to do everything twice to make sure it's all perfect. So let's turn off the hilt. Let's right click, say face mode, grab all the faces on the left hand side of the object and delete them. And we're now going to go right click, object mode, select it, edit, duplicate special, and we're going to do this over the x-axis, I believe, this time. Let's just make sure. Oops, not 0, we want that to be 1. Apply, yep, x-axis, and close, and we should be in pretty good shape. So what we want to do is make sure that we don't have any extra polygons, and I can see that we do. So let's get rid of those guys before we move any further. Turn off your picture plane, and let's go ahead and delete all those polygons. So face mode, and delete, and all the back planes should be gone now. Okay, let's turn back on our picture plane, and let's kind of just squeeze this in a little bit because it's a little too thick right now. So we're going to go right click, face mode, and we're just going to start selecting some of these faces. Face mode, select, 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 select. All these front facing faces we want to grab. Okay, and we're just going to suck it in a little bit. And now we'll turn on the hilt just to see and make sure that we're looking pretty good. So let's keep sucking it in a touch, and that should just about do it. Let's turn on our little sphere just to see. Yeah, it's starting to look good, and you can see that we're starting to get this shape nicely. And let's turn off the hilt again. Let's add some control lines and get this wrapped up. So we're going to grab our edge loop tool, and we're just going to add an edge loop right about there. And that's probably the only one we're going to need. So yeah, we might want one here too. So let's add one here. And that's going to do it. So let's turn off our back plane and just make sure everything's clean and nice. Everything's looking great. Yep. Okay, let's go ahead and weld everything together. So we're going to go ahead and go right click object mode, select both of these guys, and go mesh, combine. Now they're all combined, and we're going to do that trick with the vertexes again. So we're going to go vertex mode, select all the vertexes. We're going to go edit mesh and merge. And we're going to take the options on it, make sure it's set to 0001, and hit apply, and hit close. So now all of our meshes are combined and the way we want it, and perfectly mirrored. Okay, so we're in great shape. Now let's try smoothing it once and see how it looks. Okay, so now you might be noticing that it's smoothing these top edges when we don't necessarily want that to happen. Okay, so to fix that, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to one mode, and we're just going to delete these faces. They're hidden anyway, and they just cause problems, so let's just get rid of them. So go face, select, 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 and these guys too. Delete. Select, 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 delete. Select, 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 and delete. And the same thing on the side. So I'm just selecting and deleting. Alright, so let's hit 3 again and see how it smooths. And now you can see it's not smoothing this corner in anymore. It's just doing it just how we wanted it. Let's turn on our pieces here to see how everything's looking together. And we are just really about there. Some little finishing touches, and I think we are really quite done. I think we've got a few issues, like this is a little too thick, this whole thing. Like it's just, I don't think a sword would really be that thick. You know, a sword hilt, I feel like it should be a little narrower. So we'll do a little bit of that cleanup, and we will be on our way. Yeah, but all in all, it's really where we want it. So rock and roll. Alright, so now what we want to do is just kind of do some cleanup work, and we're just going to get this thing thinned down to the point where we're kind of happy with it. Actually, let's just make sure you're in face mode. So double click the hilt, and we're just going to scale it inward until it's a nice thin thickness that feels comfortable. That's going to probably be about good. And let's just see how she looks. And maybe that's a little too thin. And let's just move her in. And that should be just about good. All right, so this of course is going to also have to get scaled a little bit. And we're just going to do that. And yeah, let's just make sure it looks about right. So that's good. And swords are generally with a oblong piece anyway, so that's perfectly okay. And I think we're really now in the pocket. We might want to do a little thinning out right here, and I just want to check on some of these planes again. So let's just check these guys out. So right click face, let's double click them. I forgot these aren't any longer mirrored on the cross axis, so you have to grab them both. We're just going to kind of bring it, yeah, maybe to that loop right there. So that's going to look just about perfect. And maybe just bring this guy in a little more. Right click face, double click, and I'm just going to go into my layer editor and just get it only. And turn off the sword blade, and should be good. And I'm going to go into my side view, and I'm just going to vertex. Just going to bring it in. That should be perfect. Let's turn on the sword hilt again. Hit spacebar. Come to the outside, take a look, see how we see. And that's probably going to be just about perfect. So right click, object mode, select it, 3, turn on all of your pieces, And let's just have a look. Alright, our next step for this project is to go ahead and combine these two halves together. So let's go ahead and do that. To do it is pretty easy. We've done it before, so we're just going to go ahead and select our two halves and just make sure that's the only two things you have selected. Mesh, combine. And then we're going to go right click, vertex, scroll out until you see everything, grab all the vertexes, edit mesh, merge, and select the options. Leave it at 0.0001, hit apply, close. Now all your vertexes are welded and you should be in really good shape. So that's basically the last bit of it. We do have to mirror this last object, so let's do that. Edit, duplicate special. So let's just check that. Yep, that's correct. Close, and we are good. There's a little piece I forgot about it, so let's just take a look at it. So there's that little thing right here, okay? And we want to make sure we get that. So let's go ahead and turn on all of our pieces and go ahead and grab this guy, Control D for duplicate, and now you'll have another copy of the whole thing on top of itself, okay? So just move it out of the way and move it down. You know what, let's just go to the front view. That's the best way to do it anyway. And I'm going to zoom in, select those faces, delete, right click, object mode, select, scale it in, right click, vertex, grab these two guys, scale them up, let's just take a look at it in wireframe mode. Make sure it's going in the right spot. And that's about good. So we're just going to scale it up now. Right click, vertex, grab these top pieces, move them down into position. Grab these other pieces, move them up into position, and we should be in pretty good shape. So let's just go to our perspective mode and take a look. So yeah, that's probably a little too thick, so let's just right click, object mode, select them all, scale them in, and that's going to be pretty good. Right click, edge mode, double click the perimeter, double click the perimeter. We're going to go extrude, scale, and we're just going to bring these guys in. Alright, so that's what we should have forming here. Grab this little green guy and pull it up until you have a little bit of a bulge. Yeah, because it wouldn't, you don't want it to be so square, it would hurt your hand, right? You want it to have that little bit of a bevel. So I'm just kind of adding that now. And that should do it. These top ones probably have to get adjusted a little separately. So let's go into our front view and go right click, vertex, grab these two and move it down just till it's about comfortable. And this one and just till it's about comfortable. Alright, that's basically going to do it. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's looking good. So what we might want to do is, just to be a little fancy, we can grab our insert edge loop tool and put two edge loops. And we can go face, grab this one, and the two on the other side. Hit F to grab the focus and rotate around to the other side. There we go. And we're just going to go extrude and scale. And this time what we're going to want to do is grab only the side ones. So I'm just going to scale her in a little bit and then I'm going to scale it down a little bit. Okay, so now I've got this nice little diamond shape forming, and I'm going to go extrude again, and I'm going to go scale in, scale up, and I'm going to scale this guy inward just a little bit, and we're going to do that one last time. We're going to go extrude and scale and in and up. That should be good, and we're just going to pull it out. Okay, so something kind of like that. And so we don't have to do it on the other side. We're just going to go right click, object mode, go into our side view, right click face mode, grab all the faces on the opposite side of the part that you worked on, which is obvious because it's got more detail, and we're just going to delete that, right click object mode, space, space, look at it from this side, grab it, edit, duplicate special, 1, 1, -1. Apply. Close. Select both halves. Mesh, combine. Right click, vertex, grab all your vertexes, edit mesh, merge, with the options 0.0001, apply, close. I just want to get rid of those facets, so I'm just going to go normals, soften edges, and that'll look great. We got a little bit of a weirdness going on, so let's just jump into here and take a look. So edge mode, and what I basically want is for this loop and this loop to be hard edges, so I'm just going to go normals, harden edges, go on the other side, double click, normals, harden edges, and I'd say that that's pretty good. That's a really small detail, so we're not going to worry about it too much. It's just a little flare piece. So let's go into this guy, and if I remember correctly, let's take a look at our picture plane just to be sure. Yeah, there's some details in here we're going to want to add. So let's turn everything back on, and let's get in here and do some work. Okay, so we're just gonna, this is some easy fun stuff. So we're just gonna do the edge loop tool, and we're gonna drop a couple control loops in here. You can be as accurate as you need to be. You know, I'm just showing ideas here, so I'm not going to be super accurate, and besides, sometimes it doesn't really need it. It just needs to look good to the eye, and that's more important than anything else anyway. So that looks good, and right click face, double click, select, double click, select, double click, select, double click. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it don't. Extrude, scale, and we're just going to bring it in. And just scale it in a little bit so that our normal maps pick it up later. And we are in great shape. Alright, so we've added a little detail down there, and I'd say that we can call this pretty much done. Right click object mode, we're just going to give it one more look-see, make sure everything's looking really good, and if it is, we're going to move on to the baking process. Alright, the last thing we have to do is just merge all these sword blade pieces together. So let's just grab them all. We're going to go mesh, combine, and we're going to go right click, vertex, you guys should know this routine already. So we're just going to select them all, and we're going to go Edit Mesh, Merge, and we're going to grab the options, make sure it's set to 0001, hit Apply, Close. All right, so there we have it. One very nice looking complete sword ready for doing our transfer maps and all the stuff we have to do. All right, so you did it. This looks great, and we're gonna get some good results out of this. And you know, you might want to go in there and tweak some more. You know, that's up to you. You can keep working on this as much as you'd like. I'm gonna call this one done. But of course, you know, this is you know, your piece of art. You can do it as you please. You know, if you want, now that you understand the techniques of how you kind of do something like this, you can make your own sword or do anything you want. But this is the that was a quick little tutorial on how to handle modeling in Maya LT, and I really hope you guys learned something, and I hope you stick around for the next part, which is going to be to build the wrapper and create the transfer maps. So yeah, this is the end of the modeling section, and I really hope you guys learned something.